It's okay to say that you want to sell things, Meghan. You're not sharing things. If you were sharing things, we would be getting this stuff for free. Okay. You're not sharing anything. You're selling spread and now wine. And it's supposed to be rosé, but when you look at the picture on Instagram, it doesn't even look pink. It looks like a weird peachy yellow color. She's sharing it.
To scale that to a level where you can share it more broadly and, of course, compliant.
I need a glass of wine, but not rosé. Okay, so I promised you guys the Aspire with Emma Grede commentary, the podcast with Meghan. This thing has only been out for 2 weeks, and it feels like it's been out for 2 years. There's been so much stuff that people have been talking about with this. And I want to show you, this podcast is only about a month old. Look at the videos. So she's got, this is how many videos she has. And the video with the most views, obviously, is the one with Meghan. She just did a Michelle Obama and her brother podcast. They were her guests, and that was a week old, and it's only got 43K views. And I would say, other than the Meghan podcast, which so far has got 237K views, the one that had the most was the one where she had Gwyneth. So this woman is using the fact that she has supposedly, called by Forbes as one of the most wealthiest self-made billionaires. But I just don't understand, why do all these billionaires feel like they have to have podcasts? It's like, podcasts are places for normals, or mostly normals. I just don't understand why all the Obamas and the Oprahs and people like this woman have to have podcasts. So annoying. But anywho, I'm going to skip the introduction because the introduction really, really just makes me crazy. But yeah, so let's get into Look at Megan's face here. Okay, so I know that a lot of people have talked about this thing. Hopefully I can offer a little bit of some different and possibly insightful commentary where this is concerned. But let's get into it. I have it sped up 15% because I have a life, you have a life. But let's just dive in here and hope that we can learn from this woman's blatant narcissism as to what not to do in our lives. Okay, here we go.
Get my voice back.
In this revealing episode of the Aspire podcast, Meghan shares the hidden cost of ambition, how vulnerability fuels her resilience, and why her vision remains unapologetically bold. Would you ever do something just for the money? So how do you walk the line?
This is the intro. I thought I was skipping this. Sorry. Okay, here we go.
Meghan, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here. So there's so much to talk about today, and I am dying to get into this new brand launch because I think this specific audience is one that is obsessed.
Now, when this came out 2 weeks ago, remember, she had only done her first launch. The second launch hadn't happened yet.
Obsessed with pivots, obsessed with, changing what they're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people thinking about starting businesses or starting their own, ventures. And that's exactly what you've done. I really want to understand where you got the entrepreneurial bug. Did you have business owners or founders in your family? Where does it come from?
Oh, goodness. My grandfather on my mom's side, he used to have an antique store.
Notice no mention of her father. Absolutely none. She did a pause and she looked up, and of course she's not going to say, I watched my father, the Emmy Award lighting director, Thomas Markle, growing up, and saw him, and he's a creative, and that sparked creativity in me. I mean, come on. She watched her father as a lighting director on the set of Married with Children. And that's how she got bit by the acting bug. And that's what made her want to become famous. She wanted to be famous in Hollywood, but she's erased him from her narrative. So she has to tell us a story that we had never heard about her grandfather owning an antique store. And that's why she is now, shilling jam to the masses. All right, whatever. Here we go.
And I would always be oftentimes after school with him, helping with his antiques and watching what it's like to just be in business and also customer service.
Mhm.
And then my mom, though she was a travel agent for many years, she also
So remember, before this interview, we had never heard her talk about her grandfather and his antique business. And I've seen tons of stuff online where people are like, it wasn't an antique business, it was more like a pawn shop.
used to do, like not a county fair, but street festivals and things like that, where you have little pop-ups and vendors. And so we'd go downtown, she'd buy fabric and she'd make dresses and would sell those. And when we were down there, we'd go to downtown LA, I would buy.
Why is Emma having a heart attack over that? I love that idea. I love it. Yeah, like lots of women know how to sew. I'm not one of them, but there are a lot of women that know how to sew, and especially women in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, even obviously prior to that, a lot of women were sewing and making clothes because they couldn't afford to buy clothes. But I mean, I would say in the 60s, 70s, a lot of women were still sewing and doing all that. So that's just really funny how Emma's like having a heart attack over that. Big deal.
Would buy with my allowance, just sort of the overstock. You can buy like 1 yard at a time. And I started using my own sewing machine. I would make scrunchies. So when I was about 5th, 6th grade, I was selling scrunchies for $1 a piece at school. And so I guess it starts young when you get to see, you can have your hands involved in something and really be able to share that more broadly, but also you can earn at the same time.
Yeah, you're stacking the cap.
Who else thinks that when she's talking, she's just making stuff up? You can just see her making stuff up as she talks.
Gosh, $1 a scrunchie. I mean, come on.
$1 at a time, but it was great. It really did spark something in me.
Yeah, and at that time we were loving the scrunchies. So take me back to the beginnings of As Ever, because I'm guessing that like so many founders, you've been trying to get this business off the ground for a while. It's finally launched and to much fanfare.
Oh, goodness.
So I'd love to know, I want to understand.
Is it fanfare though? Is it fanfare? I don't think so. I really don't think so.
And like, how did it start?
I knew that I wanted to put something in the world. And for years, and we've been out here for 5 years now, really trying to decipher what do I want to share? What do I authentically, organically want to share? And how to...
Oh gosh, you know what I should have done? I should have had my notepad here so I could keep a running total of how many times she says authentic and organic and what's another favorite thing she likes to say? She likes to say through the lens
how
of...
to translate that. And, truth be told, I had just been making a lot of jams and preserves at home and sharing them as holiday gifts with a lot of friends. And it was one morning, beginning of the new year, so many friends at the same time had texted saying, I don't know what it is, but your jams just make me so happy. And I thought maybe that's the thing, because I do believe it was probably more obvious to a lot of people that I would get into fashion.
It wasn't obvious to me that she would get into fashion. I don't consider her to be a fashion icon the way that I look at a Princess Catherine or a Princess Diana to be a fashion icon. That's quite telling that she would say that people would assume that she would be going into the beauty space or the clothes space. No one thought of her as being a cook or someone who was a hostess or into stuff like gift baskets and jam and stuff. I don't know where she's getting this narrative. She's just crafting it as she goes along. And then to say that everyone on the same morning texted her about how wonderful her jam was.
Or beauty,
No doubt.
That seemed like the natural inclination, but that's not what I was sitting around doing every day. And so my real passion was in this way of sharing. And I love being in the kitchen. I've always loved cooking. So, I thought maybe...
Did anyone else notice with Love Meghan, which is now, I guess, supposed to be known as the first season because the second season is coming. Can't wait for that, by the way. But the woman doesn't even know how to hold a knife. And I'll see if I can insert a picture here somewhere, but she doesn't even know how to hold a knife properly. So I don't know if being in the kitchen is something that she really, really loves doing. I think she was scrambling to try to figure out something to offer. And this seemed like the easiest thing she could do. White label products from different distributors and slap her name on it, which was supposed to be American Riviera
maybe
Orchard,
I could translate it into a smaller brand, and then made a very big pivot, as you say, when I went from about to onboard a CEO and a small team to having Netflix as my partner. That takes it to a completely different level.
Totally different level.
And yes, and goes very far beyond my ideas of, I can sell locally. I could maybe be at a farmer's market. I thought that would be cute.
I'm going to do global Netflix.
So suddenly it changed quite a bit.
So talk me through that partnership a little bit, because so many...
She still hasn't told us, by the way, in the 2 launches that she's done, how many units She moved. She's talking about how she sold out, but we don't know how many units that she moved. That's still a huge, huge missing piece of the puzzle.
You did actually what I did, which was to take a partner. So what does that look like for you right now?
Yes. Well, their consumer products goods division has typically done lots of merchandise and bespoke and interesting brand work, but for pre-existing shows.
Right. So it's like a Stranger Things, like the top titles.
Yeah, Stranger Things,
Yeah.
Bridgerton. So
all shows that are already established, and people like these shows. They like the shows. They like the people in the shows. It gets and generates a lot of buzz. No one really cares about her show at all.
So you could easily go Bridgerton, Regency era, go and do an incredible collaboration with Pat McGrath or do something with Liberty of London with that thematic. So where things were different with me, of course, is that it wasn't a brand that was established. It was my ideation, and doing it with them. We're developing it as we're going.
That's another word she says a lot. Ideation, my schematic, my SKUs, it's exhausting.
And so I think, as you know, in building brands, it doesn't happen overnight. It can't happen overnight. I guess the difference was with me is that so much of that work that can typically be done behind the scenes for most founders, there's just so much curiosity that you are building the plane and flying it at the same time, but you're still in the building phase. You just don't get to build in quiet.
Well, it's a gift and a curse, right?
Again, I've mentioned this before in other videos. She's always trying to portray herself as being a successful entrepreneur and someone that you should look up to and admire and take advice from. But yet she's always reminding us, especially in her Founders of a Female, whatever the hell that podcast was called, that she's building. She's in the building phase. So basically, if you want to scrutinize the brand a little bit more closely, or you want to look into what's going on, she's reminding you that she's in the building phase. So just back off, because she's learning as she goes, and you have no right to question the dumpster fire that is this brand.
Part of you that's like, great, there's an interest in what I'm doing. Yes. But there's also just such scrutiny in what you're doing.
There's a lot of focus.
There's a lot of scrutiny in what she's doing. Absolutely, Emma. And the reason being is that because she tried to trash the royal family and she called them all racists, but she's still using the title that family bestowed upon her to monetize her and her husband's lifestyle. So that's why she's under scrutiny. But I digress.
Focus on every detail and every moment of quiet.
Do you every single moment quiet?
Everything
quiet and everything.
It really does. It really runs the gamut. But at the same time, what a blessing that it creates and generates so much buzz and so much interest.
See, I've said this before. She tries to phrase negatives as positives and positive as negatives. She knows that everyone really, really puts her through the ringer about everything that she does, and rightly so. She has lied. She has misrepresented herself. She's bullied people. She's done a lot of things. And that's my opinion, but there are also receipts out there. And she tries to frame it like, oh, what a blessing. Everything's, I do is so scrutinized. No, she doesn't think it's a blessing. She wants us all to just shut the heck up and just let her just monetize and shill her wares. And we should just pay her because she's so wonderful.
But I'm still never willing to sacrifice or compromise on the quality and to take my time. Someone else's urgency is not my urgency.
Really? Because there was a lot of product reviews when she first launched, and they were showing stuff like labels that were on the jars, just askew, weird. The jam was not jam. It was sauce. It was runny. The teas, a lot of people were saying that the teas were not good. What is she talking about? Quality. If I want quality, I'll just go to a Whole Foods and buy a brand that I recognize for a third of the price and get way better quality. I can assure you.
Damn right. I mean, I honestly think that that's a great way to think about it. With this partnership, do you think it brings more scrutiny, or is it all upside?
I don't think it brings more scrutiny. I think it certainly brings more attention and curiosity.
It absolutely brings more scrutiny, and even more so because Netflix has agreed to work with this woman, but she is still failing miserably, and people are upset, and they're thinking to themselves and talking about it all over because we're all saying, so you have this incredible partner in Netflix and you're still failing this badly and you're still bumbling things this badly. I mean, she went on her own founders podcast and had an interview with Beyonce's mother. And Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles, was questioning her business strategy because she had told Tina that she was going to take a step back and she was going to reevaluate and see what as ever could be and try to determine the next direction. And she was going to hold off on releasing her second launch. And then I think she didn't really like or it didn't sit well with her the way that Tina was kind of questioning her and scrutinizing her business, because what did she then do? Within a few days, she jumps right back on social media and was like, oh yeah, surprise, haha, in June, I'm gonna, re-release and we're gonna have a second drop. And it's like, you have no plan. You have no plan. You're flying by the seat of your pants. You're failing this miserably with Netflix as a partner. Some people will never, ever get those types of chances. And that's why she's under such scrutiny. So don't believe any of this garbage.
How could it not? Especially because it's a new chapter for Netflix as well from the CPG side. And really, when you link it to the Netflix series with Love.
How many times can someone go like this? Like, what is that? How many body language channels do we watch where they're like, yeah, when people like, once in a while, if they get an itch or something, or they're going like, but it's a tell. When people go like this 50 bajillion times while they're talking, it's usually a tell that they're lying because they're using it to think of things, or it's just, that is a classic body language tell. And she does it all the time.
With Love Meghan, it is where content and commerce can meet in a really unique way. So I think with season 2 coming up, we've been able to really maximize that opportunity also and look at what I'm making in season 2.
It wasn't a season 2, by the way. If you do not know, everything was filmed. Everything was filmed in 2024. She already had everything filmed, I think by summer or late spring 2024. And now I'm doing it because I feel like I have something in my nose. Sorry. But everything was filmed already. So for her to frame it as if it was so successful that they went ahead and greenlit a season 2 is a big fat fib. But do you see how she plays with language? How she says something that's only half true, but to present it as the whole truth?
And see that reflected and complementary in what the brand has an offering.
And how are you really thinking about that? Because obviously the brand will live in between the show. If the show doesn't continue, it will just, I'm assuming that the brand just continues to grow. So how are you actually thinking about that partnership? Because I know when I started in business, you can get it really right, you can get it really wrong. God knows I got it wrong enough times. Oh my goodness.
So Emma's basically opening up and saying, yeah, I've gotten it wrong. And do you see the complete and total just inner brat in Meghan come out there? She's so condescending. Oh, did you? Oh, you failed, or you thought you were failing? You did you? Yeah, normal people are afraid of failure. They don't have $1 million prince husbands backing them. They don't have a passion project like you do. They have a one-time shot usually to make a business into something. And she can't even relate and be like, oh my gosh, I know. I was so scared of failing too. Are you kidding? She could never bring herself to talk like that. That's just beneath her, don't you know?
You know what? Certainly for me, there was such a sense of desperation to just get something done that the first person that was like,
did you guys see that? She did not like that. Don't you associate the word desperate with me, Emma Grede?
Hey, we believe in you. I was like, great, me too, let's go. And there were parts of it that were good and parts of it
how
that,
interesting.
let's say I
never
had to learn from a little bit. But when you look at this partnership, because it is pretty untraditional in that way, right? You're launching a brand with your content partner. Where does the brand live? How are you working together? Who does what? Is that all, like pre-figured out, or are you just working it out as you go along?
Well, I think what's different than
you hit it, Emma. She's working it out as she goes along. Good for you, Emma. You sniffed her out just like we all do.
And what you're saying is your initial experience is that we've been in partnership with Netflix for 5 years already. My husband and I. So there's familiarity and there's comfort. And while that was just on the content side, not on the commerce side, these are relationships and friendships now. So though I'm working more so with the other building of Netflix, it's still the same group of people. It's still the same points of contact that I can reach out to. I love having a friendship and a nice rapport with Bella.
I don't know what this has to do with her feeling like she might have been scared if it didn't work or not. Do you see how she doesn't answer the question? Emma was asking her, or, starting to ask her by telling her a little bit about her experience to Meghan. And Meghan doesn't pick up on it, or rather she doesn't want to go down that road. She doesn't like, and especially when Emma said, I felt desperate. And she was like, oh, interesting. Meghan will not get down with someone in that way. She does not want to be seen a certain way. She does not want to go there. So she just starts talking about how privileged she is to have been in partnership with Netflix, as if to say, I have had so much more of an elevated experience than you have, Emma. Did you notice these subtle nuances in the way that she speaks with people? It's actually extremely, it's disingenuous, and it's just mean. It's a mean way to talk to people.
Bella Bajaria has been such a champion of the series and of this brand. And, it was only from me sending her fruit baskets and jams and whatnot that she said, this is a show.
This is good stuff.
You have to do a show. So I think that changes it, because it's not as though you're jumping.
I think it was more along the lines of, she was trying to kiss up to people. She was probably sending gift baskets to execs over at Netflix because they were probably pissed off that they had been in partnership with them for probably 3.5 years up to that point, and they still did not develop anything with this woman. They didn't know what she was going to do. So she's probably sending these gift baskets to kiss up to people. And this Bella lady is probably racking her brain like, what the H can we do with this person? My gosh, we got to make some kind of money. Oh, well, she can kind of cook, I guess, or we think she can. So let's just have her do a hostess show. I mean, I really think that that's how this With Love Meghan thing came into existence and into being on Netflix.
In with people that you don't know, which a lot of founders, I think, to your point, if they are looking for partnership, for capital, whether it's private equity, VC, or a partner in this way that I have, that's a very...
She's making me want to go like
it really is.
But if you have she keeps touching her nose. It's like, stop, Meghan. God.
Pour up to it, it does adjust it a little bit because you have a shorthand.
Yeah. And where are the lines? Like, what are you doing versus what are they doing? Because I imagine, especially when it's something that's so close to your heart and something that you clearly take a lot of pride in, how are you able to make sure that the product is what you want?
She doesn't take it close to heart, and she doesn't have pride in it. She's scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to come up with ideas because Netflix has had it with her, frankly. That's my opinion.
What you want it to be, the brand is what you want it to be, because there's a lot of compromise when it comes to partnerships. And
yes,
I say this to founders all the time, right? When you give something, you have to imagine that something's coming back. And so what does that partnership actually look like right now?
Well, I think at the end of the day, what I appreciate is in the
Okay, well, before she starts to answer this question, let's get clear on what the question was. The question from Emma is, what does your partnership with Netflix look like? What are the logistics of what that looks like? Let's see how this woman answers it.
In the contract, they understand that this is my vision. Mm-hmm. It's my vision. And also the success of the brand, I believe, is rooted in the fact that you can feel when I am involved in something. And so because I have been in this state of ideation of
state of ideation. Oh, hold on.
What I wanted to have as an offering for so long.
She says, I had an idea of what I wanted as an offering for so long. But how? I don't understand. She's presented so many personas to us all over the years. She's a humanitarian. She's an actress. She was a blogger. She was an influencer. She's all these different things. But that whole TIG thing, that whole TIG persona, that was years and years ago. And that wasn't anything that she was presenting to us in, well, what? They left the royal family in 2020, all of 2020, all of 2021, all of 2022, most of 2023. We never heard anything about her loving cooking and jam and all. Like, so what is she talking about? She frames it as if it's this thing that's been in her for so long that it personifies her. It's her. But yet we never saw this from her. She never talked about this kind of stuff. She was trying to play other angles. And when those angles didn't work, she had to come up with this. It's so weird.
The fact that they trust my final judgment is great on what I want to put out there. But equally, one of the things I've said from the onset, I love being part of the creative process. It's important to me. It's also where I find a lot of joy. So,
oh, that's another word she says a lot. Her joy, her ideation, her joy, her skews, her organic authenticity. This is good stuff.
The analogy I say is don't bake the cake without me. Meaning, if I'm in the kitchen I want to be part of making the batter. What's the flavor profile? And there's an entire team that can help put that cake in the oven, but I want to check it before it goes in the oven. And I want to be involved in frosting it and presenting it and the language surrounding it. I love the details of things. And I think that's where a lot of the magic.
She loves the details. That's why everything is so scattered. That's why the messaging is so scattered. That's why just talking about when things are going to launch and when they're not going to launch is so scattered and all over the place. Attention to detail. She started and stopped and failed at 2 different podcasts. Well, if you have attention to detail, wouldn't you really want, and you want to be a podcaster, wouldn't you still be working on that? Why is it 8 episodes that you release on your latest iteration of your newest podcast, and then it's somehow done now? It's done now because you want to focus on other things. I mean, give me a break.
Magic comes in. So in partnership, while we are every day in the weeds of minutia, from packaging and unboxing to the language on a newsletter, which, yes, I'm one of the people who's looking at all of that and making sure that it feels reflective of my vision for the brand.
The newsletter is very infrequent and very ill-timed. So I wonder how big the vision is for communication with her audience and for keeping in constant contact with her audience. How seriously is she taking this?
I think in any business, you're dancing
all the time.
All the time.
Dancing.
Oh, you could choreograph it as well as you want, but at a certain point, you're going to have to freestyle a little bit.
And what about the less sexy side, the less creative part of it? When you're thinking about
my
logistics, when you're thinking about the finances, when you're thinking about the back end infrastructure, like, is that something that you are interested in getting involved in? Or are you like, this is for my partner and I can trust them on that?
I'm very involved in that part. It matters because a very powerful and influential machine like a partner, as with Netflix, you have the 2 of us together. Yes, it's an incredible partnership with a lot of, I'm proud of them. They've got a lot of clout behind them.
Yes.
And at the same time, we're still a startup.
Yeah. You're still a startup.
We're a startup.
There she goes again. Don't criticize me or my little business because we're still a startup. You're not a startup if you have Netflix behind you and if you're already a millionaire, a bajillionaire, okay? You're not a startup, Meghan. A startup is if you got a small business loan at your local bank and open a taco truck or something with your life savings. That's a startup.
Like to have that there and to know it doesn't matter. Like every single customer, every interaction really counts. And it's often that unsexy stuff that is the stuff that really impacts the customer as well. It's like, how quickly are they getting their delivery? How much can they rely on your site? Like, is what they order what they get in the package?
Yes.
So it matters.
It all matters. And also just the customer service experience. That is your...
What about all those people that ordered and didn't get their items that she had to not, I don't even know. Did she end up refunding them? Or did she just still give them that email where she was like, oh yeah, you'll get things dropped when they're ready? Yeah. What a great customer service experience there.
This is your one-on-one interaction with the people that are supporting your brand. I want you to feel the way you would feel if, in the same spirit of hospitality, if you were a guest in my home.
Mm-hmm.
I see you. I want to make sure your needs are met. We're going to make sure you're comfortable. If something wasn't exactly as you imagined it, let's talk about it. All of that is part of the spirit of the brand. It might not seem as sexy, but it's fundamentally important.
So tell me.
Well, of course it's fundamentally important. What is she talking about? It's like, she has the wherewithal and the business acumen to recognize that customer service, although not sexy, is fundamental to the success of a business. Like, of course it is. What point are you trying to drive home here? It's like how she's always trying to talk about how she is such a great mother because she reads to her kids at night or puts her kids to bed or drives them to school or something. It's like bare minimum that you can do in whatever you're trying to do calls attention to the fact that when she's doing those bare minimum things, that's her going above and beyond. Unbelievable.
So tell me more about the actual brand and your aspiration, because this is a notoriously difficult category. And I love
consumables, you mean?
I mean, it's really hard. I always thought that.
I'm just white labeling everything and saying, yeah, I guess that looks good. But I'm in the weeds here.
When I started a business, I grew up with family that had flower stores. And I remember like the inventory would always die. Like it was literally like, this is really a tricky business because you've got this window and then the inventory is literally dying. So your inventory.
Thankfully, we're not in that situation. Products are shelf stable for several years.
Yes. But it is a
shelf stable for several years. She said her products are shelf stable for several years. I don't think I would want a jar of spread and try it out 3 years later after it's been sitting on my shelf. That's gross.
Pretty tricky category, right? And even when you think about the distribution, once it gets outside D2C, it's a, you know, it's a big, complicated machine.
She makes all these words. Oh, really? I don't think she follows conversations. I think I'm listening to Emma in this interview more than Meghan was listening to Emma during this interview. I think Meghan is concerned about, okay, how do I insert said talking point that I rehearsed last night for 25 minutes? How can I insert that into the appropriate time in the conversation and make it seem like a more seamless segue? I mean, honestly, that's what I think that this woman does. I'm listening to Emma more intently than Meghan is, because Meghan's just always staring off or looking, or you can tell she's more concerned with the presentation and her talking points than she is in actually having a real conversation, which is why it doesn't really seem like she's answering the questions. Which is why it seems like she's not really giving us any insight into what makes this business tick and work. It's just all nonsense.
With big players in there. So
Yes.
how do you think about the vision of what you're trying to create, and also the
She does it. Emma, she does it.
Well, I think I go back to the authenticity, right? It's what I love and it's what
She said it again. Authenticity.
I want to share. So what I was cooking in my home to figure out recipe testing.
And if you notice too, it's everything she wants to share, what she wants to share, what she wants to share. You mean what she wants to sell. It's okay to say that you want to sell things, Meghan. You're not sharing things. If you were sharing things, we would be getting this stuff for free. Okay. You're not sharing anything. You're selling spread. And now wine. And it's supposed to be rosé, but when you look at the picture on Instagram, it doesn't even look pink. It looks like a weird peachy yellow color. She's sharing it.
To scale that to a level where you can share it more broadly, and of course, compliance.
I need a glass of wine, but not rosé.
This is different globally when we get into that market, which we will.
You're going global.
How can we not?
I mean, how can you not?
Yeah, but it's the spirit of sharing.
I can't take it anymore. I can't take this anymore. The spirit of sharing. The spirit of sharing. Of sharing.
I want to just share it here. I want to share
It's
it.
better for the P&L. Well, there is that, Meghan.
Yes, that's true.
See, thank you, Emma, for calling out this woman. So even Emma's like, okay, say share one more time, Meghan, I dare you. And no, it's actually about P&L, profit and loss. That's what it's about, Meghan, not sharing. I mean, even Emma isn't buying this.
And in the spirit of sharing.